Elio is the latest Pixar movie released by Disney. This time around, we are following Elio, a little kid who has lost both his parents. And because of this tragic loss, he looks up to the stars and wants nothing more than to leave his planet. Funny enough, Elio gets exactly what he wants, putting himself on a dangerous journey. And that's all. Putting aside any spoilers to you guys, this will be a spoiler-free review. New Pixar movie, baby. And yes, the stars are back, okay? I apologize for doing that, but there is still a minor tweak we'll get to at the end. But back to Elio, dude. I'm sorry, I gotta sound like an old man here. Back in my day, a Pixar movie coming around the corner was a big freaking deal. It was an event, an exciting time. You were basically guaranteed a magical, emotional, great time at the movies, and lately, that's faded away. Nowadays, we get more headlines like Elio struggling to make a decent amount at the box office, general interest in the movie being at an all-time low, and that hurts, man. It's Pixar we're talking about. But I guess I can't blame a lot of people out there not being invested in Elio, because even myself, looking at the trailers and the marketing, didn't really look that interesting for me. But I had already learned from past experience with movies like Up, Coco, Luca, films that I thought looked strange and odd from the trailers. Like, I don't think I'm going to be into that. Going in to watch it and being blown away and thinking to myself, why did I ever doubt Pixar? So that's exactly what I told myself going into Elio, is like, why even doubt them? This is Pixar. And, let me get into the good and then I'll get into the bad. I think overall, Elio is an enjoyable, fun movie that is for sure gonna be loved by kids. And the parents who take them will also find themselves probably having a good time. But yes, this is one of those situations where maybe it doesn't meet up to the Pixar standard we've held high to. When it comes to the little boy Elio in this movie, I thought he was a really likable lead. Of course, they kind of set you up with a real sentimental attachment to him from the beginning once you learn both his parents are gone, and the idea that he feels so lost and disconnected with the world that he would rather be abducted by aliens. That's kind of heartbreaking, man. That's some of that Pixar magic right there, where it's like, I like to see that because that's pretty dark. The idea that, like, I don't want to be here. I'd rather be taken out into space because forget this world that took my parents. Like, that's emotional stuff. I also think this is an absolutely gorgeous and beautiful looking movie. I mean, Pixar's been in the game so long. Of course, they know how to make an animated film look great. I also enjoyed a couple of the side characters thrown into the film. Elio tags along with this, like, caterpillar alien looking thing. I know there's like a proper name for the inspiration behind this thing. It's like something you see in a microscope. I'll put it up in editing. But this friend named Glorden and his species and culture, I thought was actually a real intriguing part of the film. And really, I wish I had more wonderful things to say about this movie, but if I get onto my negatives or things I was mixed on, I do think this will end up being one of the more forgettable Pixar movies. Now, I know whenever we talk about a Pixar film, some people think it's really unfair to always hold each film high to the Pixar standard, but the standard is there for a reason. For me, some of the things that hold Elio back is kind of its disjointed story and themes. Like I said, they reel you in with kind of a cliched backstory of a kid who's lost both his parents. How many Disney films can you name where the main character had his parents die? He's also a kid who's so weird, he's obviously being bullied. So there's a part of you that feels happy whenever he does go off into space, meets all these aliens willing to accept him. But as things roll along, the movie doesn't really have much of a conflict until it's way too late in the film. Story just kind of meanders on with this idea that, oh, what if a kid was thought up to be the leader of Earth? Which I'm just gonna say it wasn't as interesting as it sounds, and I think a lot of people never thought it was interesting, thus the reason a lot of the people aren't excited to go see this film based off the trailers, because that's the premise they were selling you. To me, the movie only gets interesting once he meets his friend Glorden and the things attached to him, but by the time that gets introduced and that becomes a conflict, the movie feels like it's almost rushing to end. The struggle that Glorden has and Elio on Earth also doesn't feel like they connect thematically, and this could explain why the movie had been delayed and redone a couple of times. While the movie does set you up for a great emotional punch with Elio's backstory and everything he has to learn throughout the film, it never got me there emotionally. I'm sure to some people it will, but to me, I just didn't get there. I sadly also think a lot of the movie is just visual noise. I was talking about how beautiful the movie looks, and there are a lot of amazing things that happen in this like little alien planet with all sorts of different rooms and activities, but that's all it ever really feels like. It's just shiny visuals with not a lot of substance behind it. I'm always going to be a Pixar lover and supporter, and as a movie fan, I'm kind of always analyzing Pixar movies going, where did they go wrong here? Why did these movies used to work and now these newer movies just aren't reeling people in like they used to? Because these newer films aren't bad, but in the years since a lot of these films have come out, really only one recent original Pixar movie has stood the test of time, and that's Inside Out. In fact, believe it or not, I'm actually recording this video on its 10-year anniversary. The idea of a kid who lost his parents and wants to leave this planet, I think, is a great starting point. But where the story takes off from there of becoming the leader of Earth, then needing to do a negotiation with an alien, it's a good idea where the premise executed it oddly. But again, like I said, if we take away the Pixar logo, this is still a really good animated movie, but I don't think this will be one that's talked about a lot. It'll be one of those animated films that you're like, oh yeah, that was a Pixar movie, like Onward. I loved Onward, by the way, but to this day, I hear no one talk about that movie. It faded away. So for Elio, I'm gonna give action 3 stars. While there's a lot of great visuals in this movie, there was not a lot of intriguing action. In fact, one of the climactic action scenes is Elio in a spaceship avoiding an asteroid belt, which maybe sounds cool on paper, but the way it was executed was actually very clunky and weird on film. Comedy in the movie, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. It's filled with a lot of that innocent, family-friendly humor, which I think is exactly what you needed. I just don't think there was a lot of the film that had me chuckling. Drama in the movie, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I really hate to say that because Pixar is usually a 4 to 5 star in their plot and story. But for Elio, it took such a great starting point and then just kind of meandered throughout the rest of the movie with it. Suspense in the film, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. Unfortunately, there isn't really a conflict or a mission Elio has to accomplish until much later in the film. And granted, when that conflict finally comes, the movie starts to pick up its pace, but we're already starting to get to the ending point of the movie. It feels like it's rushed through. And although now with the tweaked up rating system, I will only be adding horror when it's relevant to the movie, but believe it or not, Elio actually does have a couple of moments where it leans in to the horror. I, of course, appreciated that. There's even a great red light. So I'll give it 1 star for those small moments it purposely leans into horror. When it comes to the 3 C's, I think casual viewers will be the ones most appreciative of this movie. And I think that's what I'll be doing from now on, is recommending who the movie is best aimed for, a casual cinephile or critic. I think that's the part of my previous review that was always kind of redundant for me, but I couldn't be more happy that you guys were fighting for the stars because I was thinking you guys didn't like that anymore, but it was nice to hear you guys did. But overall for Elio, while it might not have the Pixar magic I was looking for, it's still an enjoyable movie I'd recommend in theaters. The next Pixar original movie we got is Hopper, of a little girl who transfers her brain into a beaver. I am hoping that has the Pixar magic, but if not, hey, I'm still going to be getting a good movie probably. Let me know what you guys thought about Elio if you got around to seeing it, and I'd be really curious to hear from your opinion what you think is holding back modern day Pixar movies from being iconic like some of their older films. Anything, be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.